Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Ross Bailey here, Friendly Product Specialist, and we're going to do another Learning with Line 6. So we're going to talk about taking your Helix into a studio, recording, and then taking that out to a gig, and hopefully kind of making everything work as it should. So forgive me, I've just moved into a new studio. It's a little bit echoey in here. And hopefully things are going to work out okay. So I'm going to fill for a second, and if someone can just shout up and let me know in the comments that everything is good, sound wise, this is what my voice sounds like. As always, it isn't great, but it's the only one I've got, and here's the guitar. Turn that up a little bit in the room because I can. Hopefully everything is sounding good. And we'll do the guitar volume is great, marvelous. Thank you very much. Hopefully the voice is okay, and the balance is cool. Right, so recording with your Helix. This is something I've done a little bit. I work with a few artists, and we've gone into a studio, we've recorded some songs. The blurred background is blurring your fretboard. There you go. Yes, sorry. I would unblur the background, but like I say, I'm in a new studio. It's still a little bit of a mess. You don't need to see that. You don't need to see my fingers. Because, you know, there we go. So, but yeah, it's a mess. You don't need to see back there. So yeah, you kind of go into a studio and you record. You spend a bunch of time getting these amazing guitar tones, and then in a perfect world, you want to take those out and gig them. So my normal theory is kind of use one preset for everything. That doesn't necessarily translate in a studio recording environment, and likewise, a studio tone doesn't necessarily translate to a live tone. Mainly due to kind of dynamics and certainly EQ, you'll find that your kind of studio recording tone is a lot thinner, and potentially a lot weedier to sit within a mix along with everything else, because you know you might have 30 tracks of stuff on a recording, but in a live situation you might have 5 instruments kind of thing going on. So what we're going to try and do is firstly show you how to use your Helix as a recording interface. Now that's what I do. My main interface, in fact when I say my main, I mean my only interface, is Helix. I use Helix Rack. That's what my voice is going through at the moment, and for all the guitar tones I'm actually using Helix Floor. So that is going to be my guitar interface for getting into the computer. I know, slightly complicated, but I'm just using essentially one Helix to record. So let's show you how you can do that. So if I show you now, we've just got GarageBand. So GarageBand, so I've got an empty track, and this can be Cubase, it can be GarageBand, it can be Logic, Pro Tools, whatever you're using. The concept is exactly the same. Oh, I've lost it. 2 seconds. There we go. Right. So we want an audio track. The input I've set up, you will see my Helix here, input 1 and 2. If we'll go into the preferences, you'll see I've actually got 2 Helix audio. So you set up your input and your output device for Helix audio. So Helix audio is my input. That's my rack, Helix audio 2. Sorry, that's the Helix floor, that's the rack. I'm confusing myself. That's so you can hear it. And then 1 and 2, so we've got a stereo track. And we want to turn the monitoring off. Boo. So we don't get any feedback like that. And we're good to go. So you can hear it there. And you see I've got this the wrong way around. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that. There we go. Right. Now we're set up. Do the wrong way around. Boom. So now, yeah, you'll see on the meter my audio, my voice isn't happening, but my guitar is. There we go. And now we can record. We don't see the preferences. Right. Okay. In which case, can I share this? Please bear with me. No. Right, you can't see my preferences. Why can't you see my preferences? That should be in there. Apologies. Right, okay. I apologize profusely. I can't figure out how to show you my preferences. Essentially, the concept is go into your preferences, and your input and output device needs to be set to Helix, and then that is your interface. So bear in mind, with Helix being your interface, you want to come out of there to your headphones or your studio monitors. In this particular situation, I'm using a pair of Yamaha HS7s, which are fantastic speakers. I highly recommend them. Go and check them out. So there we go. We're good to go on the recording. Just set up a different sound here. So that's really, really loud on the output. So we can take that down. And then you just hit record. There we go. Done. And hopefully now, there we go. So it really is that simple to just get recording, and you can add a bunch more tracks to that. We won't go into a full kind of recording session. We can save that for another one, for another live stream, just to show you how to kind of layer tracks and actually record multiple tracks with different amp models and different tones. That's just going to get messy for this particular stream, so we'll leave that there. But what we're going to find is, let's just do something real quick. So let's get rid of you, and we'll add another track. Oh, no. Track. New track. Let's go with that. Add another track and go into my loops section here. Right, let's just throw that in real quick. Okay, great. And put something. Let's put something else in there. Just put some loops in. Super quick, super simple, easy as that. Absolutely the wrong kit. Let's get rid of that. And get rid of that. You can tell how prepared I am. All drums. There we go. Okay. Right, put that back in. Let's just make this easy. And we'll go back to Helix real quick, just turn that down. Right. Okay. Uh-oh. Right, let's record. And we are good to go. And it really is as simple as that. So even being totally unprepared, I've got 3 tracks in there, and obviously if you've got drums or whatever, you're just going to do the same concept. Get in, get recording, super quick, super simple, everything through Helix, and it sounds great. Now, what we want to do, so I'm going to close that, and I'm just going to show you what I have here. So this is the actual preset. Get rid of those because we're not using those. So that sound was Cali, Texas, Channel 1. If you've seen me before, you know that's my kind of go-to amp. This is my go-to cab. That's what this looks like. And the only thing on there is the Air Apparent distortion. Again, favorite distortion pedal. Simple as that. Now, if I want to take this and actually gig it, this is going to be a problem. Now, what you're going to find is that tone's great. In isolation and within a mix. When you get to a gig, that's not going to cut it, especially when you kind of get to more gainy stuff. So if I was to stack this, so we've got the Hedgehog D9, great drive pedal. What's going to happen is that it's going to sound thin and weedy within a band context. So as soon as you get live drums going and a bass, everything's kind of much louder and a lot beefier. It's just going to sound really thin and weedy. And like I say, in a recording situation, it works brilliantly. In a live situation, not so much. So you're going to have to do a ton of different EQ work to sort all of that out. Now, the easiest method that I've found is if you go into your cab and you actually shave off a bunch of that high cut. Now, that sounds a little bit muffled within this context, but trust me, in a live gig, it's going to be a lot bigger and a lot fatter and a lot warmer. The low end, kind of that's to taste. And again, depending on which sort of amp or which pedals you're using, that's what's going to make the difference there. You might want to kind of crank that bass up just a little bit. So there's 2 ways you can do that. You can take your preset that you've recorded with and then take that out to the gig and then just tweak it for each preset. What I like to do is do it in the global preferences, which hopefully, hopefully you're going to be able to see my preferences with this. hopefully, give me 2 seconds. Global EQ. Right. Get rid of that. Can you see my... No. I don't know why this isn't working. Huge apologies, folks. Essentially, what we're going to do is go into the global EQ, and what you kind of see in this section, you can do that within your global EQ. And obviously, with it being global, that's going to do it across all presets if you're using multiple presets per track. Again, going back to that thing, I like to use one preset for basically everything and then just kind of tweak that with the global EQ for the room. But again, just to recap, in a recording environment, you're probably going to want a bit more highs and less lows. In a live environment, less lows, more highs, if that makes sense. But a lot of it is to taste. Now, where we want to go with this for the setting up, so at the moment I've got multi out. What you can do, you've got your USB. If you go to your main outputs here, so you can just go straight to USB 1 and 2, 3 and 4, or 5 and 6, depending on what you need to do. The cool thing is, when you've recorded, depending on what DAW you're using, you've got this as well. So this is kind of for the recording side. You've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if I take 7 and 8, what that 7 and 8 is going to do, that's going to let me reamp. So let's say you've recorded your track and you record a separate DI track as well. Now you can do that within Helix. Again, we'll get a slightly more in-depth recording thing on another stream. But if you record a DI track, then you can actually route your DAW back into Helix if you're using Helix as your interface, and then you can reamp. What that means is I can then essentially re-record the track I've recorded and tweak all of these effects, all of my amps, all of my mics, and get that to sit within a mix. It's kind of difficult to do with this setup and get everything doing, and I'm really confused as to why all the preferences aren't showing up. I don't really get that. But that is essentially the concept for that. Right, okay. No, I can't get it. Massive apologies. We'll fix that for next time. I don't know why. There we go. So, real quick to recap, set up, you want your main output, so that way on your output you're going to hear, with the multi-output, it's going out your XLRs into your speakers, and you're going to hear everything in the room, and it's also going to send from USB 1 and 2, excuse me, and then go into your preferred DAW of choice. You set your DAW preferences up for Helix as your audio device. Get rid of that now. Helix is your main audio device for input and output, and then you can monitor through Helix with headphones, whatever you want to do. USB 7 on Helix is your reamp thing. So all this, if you don't want to read the instructions, it's that simple. If you do want to read the instructions, that'll get a little bit more in depth for you. Once you've recorded, got everything set, and you don't want to kind of tweak, a lot of that is, I guess, down to dynamics. If you like the way a particular amp model or tone feels, you want to keep that in a live environment. Dynamics are going to be the same. The tone is not. To get it to sit within the mix in a live environment, go to your global EQ and use that. And it could be as simple as low and high cut. That's generally what I go to. If you need to tweak for a particular room, use your global EQ for that. And it really is that simple. And you're going to be able to take whatever you've recorded into a live environment and just tweak it from there. a recorded tone generally, from my experience, won't translate particularly well into a live environment. If you're using in-ears, it might be fine. If everyone's on modelers and kind of electric drums and stuff, that might be fine as well, because the dynamics are kind of shrunk a little bit. If they're not and everything is that much more dynamic and you're playing loud, then you're going to need that global EQ. But tweak it to your ears. But that is absolutely the key from my experience, taking a recorded tone and using that live. And that's about it. So kind of simple concept, but not something that a lot of people talk about. And I hope that made sense. So a fairly quick one tonight, but there we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. Same time, same place next week. We have one of the other guys doing another fantastic subject, so please do tune in and take good care of yourselves. Hope everyone, what's the product? I've got some comments coming in. There we go. Sebastian, product being presented. Helix, I'm using Helix. So whilst I'm using Helix, you can absolutely do this with HX Stomp, HX Stomp XL, and you can do it with Pod Go. Jake Stewart says, nice one, Ross, thank you. Sebastian has a question. Go for it, Sebastian. Please, ask away. Stomp, yes. You can do this with Stomp. If that's your question. I'm going to fill awkwardly in case you have more to that. Or maybe not. But yeah, I mean, HX Stomp actually works as a great kind of travel interface. So there you go. Gabrielle, hello from Colombia. Hello. Can you load an IR? Yes, absolutely, for acoustic instruments. Yes, totally. And I do that if you've got an acoustic guitar with just a piezo, potato pickup, and it sounds a little bit boring and kind of just quacky. Yeah, you can find some really nice acoustic IRs. Some of them are free. Just load that in. Be conscious of the mix. You might want some of that piezo quack or dynamic. And then what I found is put the IR in parallel. And that kind of just makes it more realistic sounding almost, even though you've still got that piezo kind of thing in there. Yeah, it sounds really cool. I did do a live stream on acoustic sound. So if you go to, if you're on Facebook, go through the Facebook page. We've got all of our live streams on there, so you can refer back to all of them. I did some killer acoustic sounds. It's also on YouTube, so go and check it out. But yeah, absolutely, you can do this, record with acoustic guitar, electric guitar. You can also obviously use Helix as your interface for everything. So like I say, my voice is currently going through it. All I've got is a real cheap kind of DBX preamp in there. But I use the preamp in Helix as well. That sounds killer. With EQ, the EQ sounds great, the compressors are great. And it's just a brilliant audio interface. And if you do have external effects or external preamps, you can use those as well. With the sends and returns, it's when you start getting into Helix as an interface, it's brilliant. And then obviously if you're using Floor, you've got your main pedal board, and you just take that in, a couple of cables set up at home, you're good to go. And you just take that board out live and you're good to go. So super simple, super quick. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Cheers. Bye.